Hey everyone, welcome to our Tech Talk. Today, Volodya will be leading the session on simplify your QA activities with tech automation. I'm starting the recording now, and Volodya, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So today we'll talk about automation. It would be more theoretical rather than practical, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand or interrupt me as you wish. Okay, my name is Volodya. As you know, I work as automation QA engineer at FDS project. I've started automation here when we had tests red without green runs and everything was very sad. But approximately after 1 month, we stabilized our automation tests, increased trust between developers due to some period, and after that we started to use this as our daily basis after every pull request, etc. So let's get started. Let's start with objectives of test automation. Why do we need our test automation? First of all, it's cost reducing because due to time, testing activities increases, and due to this, people need to spend more time, efforts, and money for testing activities. By implementing automation solution, you can reduce this cost because tests are running, and it's like investing for the future. Also, it's great when you need to test something that manual QA engineers can test. For example, for performance testing. It's also a great testing initiative, especially when you have some performance issues or could have potential performance issues related to your application. And that's also very hard to test manually because manually you can test only in one computer, or with your team you can also test, but it's not really good results due to this. It's better just to run your performance tests, run them and measure the result. Talking about when you have your automation solution, you start to save testing time because tests runs faster rather than manual. You can run them more frequently rather than testing, because for example, if you need to test the whole regression flow for one manual QA engineer, let's imagine that it can take 8 hours. With automation it could be approximately 2 hours, and you can run them whenever you want without any additional involvement. Questions related to objectives? No questions? Okay. Automation, of course, have some limitations, as every tool. First of all, you can't automate everything. That's what you definitely need to know. You can try, but in some cases, for example, testing activities takes 5 minutes, but automation could take 1 month. So that's return of investment. It will never be a really positive result for that because you spent a lot of time. Also, some cases can be automated due to some limitations related to automation or due to tools, etc. For example, we have tried to automate SMS messages receiving, but as we understand, this is not reliable because sometimes messages did not receive as we were using free tools. So to use this functionality, we needed to buy real phone number and investigate how to automate them. Talking about automation, it checks expected with actual results. It's very precise, but you definitely need to know that it's not a replacement for experience-based techniques, especially for exploratory testing. Exploratory testing, it's an approach based on experience. It's when when you don't know the whole application at all, you proceed to your page, you start to investigate, you create test cases, and after that you execute these test cases. Sometimes you can predict where errors could be, for example, error guessing technique. This is very useful, especially I mean, this techniques is very useful, especially when you try to investigate the new application. Unfortunately, with automation, it can't be possible to do because it just compares expected with actual results. Any questions? No? Great. And now when we know about limitations, let's talk about advantages, what this can bring to your project. First of all, as I told in the beginning, in the objectives, you can run more automation tests per build. For example, you can create your own pipeline where after creating pull requests or before releases, you can run your automation tests. This simplifies manual QA activities, especially to finding new issues that can happen due to releasing or some other processes. Talking about tests that can create by manually, as I told you before, it's performance testing or, for example, big data. When you have a lot of data, that's very hard to test manually, and it's can be its possibility to create a mistake by a manual QC engineer or QA engineer. And due to this, it's better to create some solution that where you just send some testing data. For example, it could be a test file or array with a lot of data, etc., and it compares and run these tests for everything. When you write your automation tests, it's of course you can make a mistake and run automation tests when you test a bug because you didn't know about that, but it's a subject with less operator error because manually you can miss something. With automation, as I said before, it's very precise, so it's less chance that you will miss something. If you are not sure, it's better to clarify why it's working in that weird way. You start to use you use resources more testing resources more efficient. I don't talk about people. I am talking about testing procedures at all. When you have automation solution, people just run them. It runs on the background, and QC engineers have more time to test something else. When they receive result, they will receive definitely quicker rather than manual testing. They will know the state of their application. And of course, when you have automation tests, you trust that they could find some issues, it increases your application quality. Because talking about our current project, we have migrations, we have Ruby upgrades, it's our programming language updates, also database updates, etc. And we trust our automation tests because they definitely will find some issues in our automated scope of testing. And due to this, we definitely know where something goes wrong. Tests that we didn't cover by automation, we test manually, and due to this, we find issues very quickly and in efficient way. When our automation tests fails, we just check why they fails, if it is false positive, or maybe some bugs or issues related to our application. Right now, I know that our developers use that, and they definitely check why that's failing and try to investigate why they are failing, because in most cases that could be a potential issue. Questions related to advantages? Okay, as every solution has their advantages, of course they will have disadvantages. First of all, it's additional costs at the beginning of setup. You definitely need to spend some money, time, and efforts to set up your first test automation solution. It could take some time. because first of all, what you need is just to find a skillful automation engineer. You need to explain what you expect from automation, and after that he needs to understand if that's possible or not. Due to this, it requires additional programming skills, knowledge. It requires development with automation skills, because sometimes one person can't automate at all. For example, due to lack of development skills, maybe that's the thing that your automation solution can't go really well. Sometimes maintenance are required for a test automation solution, because, as you know, in real world nothing is ideal, the same as automation tests, and they are testing real application state. And due to this, sometimes fails could occur, sometimes some issues can occur, and so on. In the future, tests can become more complex. That's not always, but sometimes that could happen, and supporting them becomes more and more complex. To reduce that, first of all, what you need just to find why this is happening, and after that trying to reduce that. For example, I saw automation solutions where tests failed, but no one knows why that's happening. And to understand that, you need to spend 1 hour or 2 hours, and due to this, that's not the really efficient way. It's better when you can quickly get your results and understand what is going on. And of course, sometimes you can automate bug or issue, and due to this, errors could occur, and no one knows that that's an issue. If no questions, let's go to test automation best practices. First of all, automation engineers don't write automation tests for themselves. They write for every stakeholder who is interested in that. That could be project managers, that could be developers, that could be a customer, because customer also sometimes need to know what is going on with his application. I had experience with that, and customer all the time asked me about sending reports about automation, so we just automate that, and he received his reports and he was really happy. When tests failed, he asked us why that's failing. Should I send this to manual QC engineers to test these functionalities that failed? He explained them how to do that, and after that they just tested what's failed. So remember that you write automation for all stakeholders. Automation solutions should be easy to troubleshoot. For example, when it's hard to understand why tests fail, you need to simplify that in some way. You need to investigate the issue, you need to create some additional things like screenshots or video recordings or additional logs. And after that, when it's really clear why tests is failing, for example, due to screen comparison or due to every steps, it's easier to investigate why your automation test is failing. I recommend to keep this practice. When you build your automation solution, think about selecting test environment. Your application environment, because when you start to build and you root it with one environment, it's really hard to maintain it in the future. Because, for example, when you want to change your environment or you would like to support your environment, etc. And due to this, when you want to upgrade your automation solution in the future pipelines, for example, you want to spin up an environment before a test run, it can be really complicated. Talking about documenting test cases, I strongly recommend to keep tracking them because on our project we have a label automated and not automated for manual test cases on our test trail. But when you but on one project we had source of truth automation tests instead of manual testing capabilities. And when something goes wrong, we had this, we kept our test cases in automation testing. When your tests fails, try not to disable them. Try to investigate why they failed and keep them up to date. That's strongly recommended because when your test fail, that's indicator that something happened. In my own experience, I could say that we had one flaky test that failed a lot of times, and it was really flaky. But when I started to fix it, we found that it's an architectural issue on with application. It's not on FDS project. No need to worry about that. Maybe some people from FDS started to worry. Due to this, try to investigate them, fix them if that's possible, or just remove if they are become retired or useless. Think about deployment. Here is the two options. First of all, you need to think how to keep them with your current deployment process. For example, when you have we have the following approach: when people create, when developers or QA engineers create pull requests, we run our automation tests, and due to this, we can quickly understand if everything is working fine. That's also could be in some other way. For example, before the deploy, to understand if your application works really well. And of course, don't forget to monitor your automation tests, because when they failed, that could be some reason, maybe not maybe written not in the best way, or maybe that could be a potential issue. Any questions to best practices? Now, when you know best practices, let's talk about what you don't need to do in test automation framework. First of all, write automation tests that is sensitive to interface. That could be some UI changes, graphical interface changes, or for example, your application state depends on some parameters or input data, etc. We have tried to automate that, and we had success. We had A/B testing, not on our FDS project. A/B testing, it's when a customer proceeds to some page and he could receive one page or exactly different page. And we automated them. We had success with them. So sometimes it could be useful to do that. I know that I'm talking not to do that in automation framework and talking about that I implemented that, but sometimes it's really need to implement. Here is the point that when you have the same page with changing data, so maybe it could be really annoying and tough to automate. Also, when your automation solution has your application has a high dependency on data values. When you type one parameter and the page changes completely with a different output, that's also not recommended. And when you automate and make connect with when you search locators using, for example, language, that's also not recommended because when you need to test another language, it would be very painful to update everything. You'll start your tests from writing your tests from scratch. So when you So that's what you shouldn't do. Of course, I added point that the more success factors are met, the more likely the test automation project will succeed. So not all factors are required to follow. Any questions? Now let's talk about types of approaches. What types of approaches you can use when building your automation solution. That's not all of them. There are a lot of more of them, but there are a lot of more. But it sounds like another type of presentation because it could take a lot of time to present everything. We will start from the simpler solution with a lot of disadvantages to more advanced with less disadvantages. Here is the capture playback approach. That's how Google built their Selenium IDE. When you click record button and after that you try to click on your web UI testing, and after that it gives you some points and logs, and after that you just play. So just record and play tests. Unfortunately, it requires a lot. It has a lot of disadvantages, like it's really hard to maintain. It's when your test, when you need to update something in your test, you need all you do is just remove everything and start recording from scratch, because maintaining is really hard. There is one really great application that I have tried for some period of time. It calls Mabel. It's not an advertisement because you'll understand that it has a lot of disadvantages. This application completely reduces all of these disadvantages, and this really simplifies testing activities. It's codeless tool with artificial intelligence. All you do is just click, type something, randomize your data, and you have here all information what you are doing here. It finds selectors by ID, by some other parameters. When page changes, it has auto heal function and a lot of other advantages. But disadvantages are really huge. First of all, you are limited with this application functionality. So you can do whatever you want or add some other integrations. Also the price is really high. They just say that people start to save money by reducing price for test automation solution, but that's not definitely true, because this application costs more and in the future will cost more. They support thread running in multiple threads, but when we compare it with automation solution written on programming language, the speed 20 seconds versus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So due to this, they just said you can buy up to 1000 threads, but threads costs a lot of money. So you can understand that 12 tests in one thread will run approximately 1 hour instead of approximately 5 minutes or 10. There is also approach linear scripting. I know that some people still using them. That's when you write a lot of data in a consequence when you want to automate something. But of course, the disadvantages, it has a lot of disadvantages, and due to this, it's hard to maintain, it's hard to support, and changes requires a lot of effort. So I do not recommend this approach at all. There is update for this approach. It's structure scripting. I didn't add screenshots because it's almost the same, but you start to use methods, some other things, and due to this, it simplifies your maintenance. Of course, it's efficient. Of course, it's less time to write automation tests, but it requires additional skills, and that's not the best approach because it requires all the time to manage and up to date them. data-driven testing. This approach is really great because when you have a lot of data to test, you can use this approach. This approach allows you to upload some file or data file or some other data, and your script will test inside your application. It's really easy to maintain. It's really simple to add additional tests. For example, if you keep your test in Excel file or some other files, it's really easy to add them, for example, by just adding to a test file. Or when you have your script in the background, you can explain how to add additional tests by adding additional data somewhere. And this will definitely work. This approach will work when you have a lot of data, the similar data on the same page, and you need to know expected and actual results. Keyword-driven testing. That's approach where you use your keywords as an actions. I've added here additionally Cucumber because it's also keyword-driven testing, but they just said that it's only behavior-driven testing, but no. So they also have their keywords, for example, text, feature, name of this feature, background, it's before what you need to do before running these scenarios. Scenario, that's just a name of the scenario for output, and here are the actions. So it's more like when you say, when you type an action and test data or explain what you need to do with that, a script will run and output some testing results. Talking about Cucumber, it's really great for people who wants to write, for example, manual testing, but writing some steps in, this background steps hiddenly, by automation engineers, that's also sometimes works because manual QA engineers could write these steps and automation just automated them, what manual wrote to them. This approach has also a lot of disadvantages because sometimes implementation could be different, and when we try to implement, there are a lot of duplications and it's really hard to get rid of them. And we finally go to model-based testing. This testing based on operating with object-oriented abstractions, especially with programming language. There are a lot of advantages. You can use whatever you want. You can automate whatever you want. It's really easy to maintain if you write them correctly. But the main disadvantage that you definitely need experienced QA engineer. This approach, just as I said, when you operate with models, it's more writing automation solutions using programming language. Any questions related to all of these types of approaches? Okay, don't forget that your test automation solution should be isolated from dev environment. I strongly recommend this to do because first of all, it's your application security. Sometimes automation engineers could use some libraries that is out of date, but it's really hard and painful to replace them, and they still keeping inside the core project. So sometimes it could be could lead to some security breaches. Talking about updates, it's easier to update when you don't have everything in one place, when you have different libraries and different projects, because updating automation solution is easier rather than the whole dev project. When you have automation solution isolated, you just update whatever you want and don't care about what's happened with your project. You care only about your automation test. It's also isolation. because you need to isolate your automation solution from from a core project, because sometimes your automation tests can break something inside the project, and sometimes you are not sure that you need to do these changes. On our project, we keep everything with dev project, but we isolate them. When you write your automation solution isolated from dev environment, it becomes true black box testing. I mean, when you don't check developers' code to understand what is going on with your application. And of course, it would be easier to debug, because when your automation tests failed, you understand that something wrong with your test or with the application. With developers framework, it could send you a lot of data, doesn't relate it to your automation tests. I mean, it's related more from application side, where it's failed, why it's failed, etc. So sometimes this information is not useful for automation engineers. Logging. I added this point because people don't add logs, but I strongly recommend to do that. And here on the left side, you can read what logs you can add here. This screenshots has been taken from AI logs with artificial intelligence, smart logs, etc. They gather a lot of information from your application, and after that they build beautiful charts. This application paid, or of course you can build that, you can spin up on your own environment, but it takes a lot of resources, and not sure that people will use that, because you need to keep this application running all the time. It just sends data through API, and you'll receive these charts. I strongly recommend to add as much information for logging as possible, because due to this, it's easier to understand what tests are failing. It's easier to understand the slowest tests, and find understand what tests slowest tests, and increase their speed in the future. Any questions related to that? Remember, not only QA team involved in write automation. Sometimes other stakeholders can help them and take care with automation solution. For example, sometimes developer can also check what is going on with testing framework, suggest some libraries, suggest some improvements for easier use. As I said before, you are not QAs are not only one person who write automation tests. It also could be developers. It also could be manual QA engineers, etc. Because sometimes automation becomes really simple, and everyone is involved in this automation writing. Don't forget about confirmation tests, because they are prior candidates for automation. Confirmation tests just the final tests before release, so don't forget to automate them, because sometimes issues defects can introduce by themselves. And when you have these issues, that's could indicate to configuration management problems. Also, I strongly recommend to automate business end-to-end processes. I mean, everything from the beginning till the end, how customers see our application, or admin, or anyone else, to understand that everything is working fine. And we are going to finish with automation presentation, how to understand that your automation solution is reliable and efficient. First of all, it's setup. How hard it would be to set up for CI environment locally, etc. The second thing, it should have central repository. Don't keep automation tests in different repositories due to different responsibility. It's better when you have one central repository for all automation tests. As I know from an example, people wrote performance tests, Android, iOS, and web UI testing also with API, and they have different repositories. And when you wanted to update something in another one, it was very painful to do that because you need to open a new project, you need to update everything, you need to understand what is going on, etc. And of course, sometimes you don't review their pull requests and you don't know what is going on inside this project. When you keep everything in one place, it's better. Don't forget to add pass and fail tests, especially when tests fail. Add as much information as possible for easier maintenance and easier investigation what is going on. This will simplify finding issues, and also it becomes more reliable in the future when other people could understand what is going on with automation tests and solutions. Environment friendly. Well, it's also very useful because changing environment should be an easy way, not very complicated. And preconditions. Describe for everyone what preconditions people need to do to start writing automation tests or how to run them. That's all. Questions? I see questions from Ruslan Shevchuk. How long do the tests take? How many tests do you have? We have approximately 1,200 tests or even more, and the whole test run could take approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes. That's the whole hour test. Talking about simpler way, because we have some tests that requires that we don't need to test due to regression flow. I mean, when developers created pull request, test runs takes 40 minutes, and it's approximately 800 tests. We run tests in 4 threads. They are really optimized and they are really quick. Can we use XPath? Of course you can use XPath if you don't have any other options. I know that some people say that never ever use XPath, it's not really great, but if you need to use them, why not? I know one automation engineer who write everything using XPath, and he could do everything like finding ID, like moving to parent element, etc. So it's not forbidden. If you need to use them, you should use them. Of course, it's more preferable to use ID, name, or even CSS, but I also use sometimes XPath when I can't use some other options. What tool for logs do you use? We use general output. We add screenshots. We have video test runtime, and right now we use Allure reports. Unfortunately for Ruby, there are no many reporting tools. Everything is paid, everything is very expensive, and Allure can help us to track everything what we need. We also have tried Testomat.io, but the difference between these two tools that Allure can be integrated with our CI environment, especially Jenkins, and Testomat.io, you need to go to their website and check your automation tests. That's really not really convenient to use. I also recommend you to keep everything in one place if that's possible. Do you store all reports somewhere? Yes, we store our reports on Jenkins locally. I can show you that, how everything we are storing. I hope that's not forbidden. For example, we have our test runs with our application, and here are our all tests stored. Oh, I said 800, but it's 572 for regression flow that runs 40 minutes. Here is our all tests that we have. We have environment setup, we have features run, we have all needed information, we have charts with needed information, times with tests, and it's so on. So it's really convenient to use, and I would like to show you with failed tests what is going on. For example, this one, it's failed, and when we have failure, we add screenshots why it's not working. For example, a page didn't work, so, and add as much information as possible. Any other questions?
Okay. If not, Volodya, thank you so much for your tech talk. It was really interesting to listen to, even though I don't know much about QA. And big thanks to everyone who joined our event today. Wishing you all a great day and see you next time.
Have a great day. Bye.